Unmasking the Dark Secrets, 3 terrifying Halloween true crime tales that will haunt your nightmares forever. Hello and welcome back to our channel. Today we have a bone-chilling episode for you, just in time for Halloween. Halloween is a time for costumes and candy, but it's also a time when some horrifying real-life events have occurred. Today, we're going to take you on a journey through the darkest stories of Halloween. These terrifying tales remind us that sometimes reality can be even scarier than fiction. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Case 1. Dawson McGehee stabbed his mother to death. Dawson Andrew McGehee was not an ordinary 26-year-old. He had a demon haunting his mind, a fact he'd confided in his friends and therapists in the months leading up to that fateful Halloween night. As we delve deeper into this horrifying story, we find that McGehee's descent into madness was accompanied by an eerie fascination with Halloween and all things macabre. In the year prior to the unthinkable act, his family, particularly his brother Colin, noticed disturbing changes in his behavior. Dawson would occasionally roam the family home in the dark, donning a Halloween mask and coveralls, an unsettling sight to behold. One particular incident stands out in the case files. Colin recalled going to a horror movie with Dawson, but during the screening, Dawson disappeared for an extended period. When Colin finally spotted him, he was sitting alone in a different row, wearing that same mask. It was a sign of something deeply disturbing brewing within him. Then came that Halloween night in 2011, when Dawson took his fascination with Halloween to an unimaginable level. Dressed in a complete Halloween costume, including a mask, he committed the heinous act that would send shockwaves through the town of Manteca, California. In the family's northeast Manteca home, Dawson murdered his mother, Kathleen McGehee. The gruesome details of the crime are nothing short of nightmarish. Dawson mercilessly stabbed his mother 10 times in the neck, chest, and abdomen with a kitchen knife, with 8 of those wounds being independently fatal. The evidence, including Kathleen's blood on a mask and a jacket belonging to Dawson, along with his bizarre behavior before and after the murder, left no room for doubt. There were no signs of a break-in, and nothing had been stolen from the house. In a disturbing twist, Dawson went to great lengths to hide his mother's death from his sister, Caitlin, who still lived at the family home. He concocted excuses for Kathleen's absence and acted uncharacteristically friendly and chatty. However, Caitlin's growing concern led her to call 911 for a wellness check. The gruesome discovery that followed was a harrowing moment etched in the minds of the first responders. Kathleen was found lifeless behind a locked bedroom door. The nightmare was out in the open, and investigators had their prime suspect. Despite Dawson McGehee's defense claiming he suffered from mental illness, the court found him competent to stand trial. He was ultimately sentenced to 15 years to life in 2013, with parole eligibility in April 2024, according to the California Department of Corrections. Case 2. Johnny Frank Garrett raped and murdered a nun. Now, let's talk about the sinister tale of Johnny Frank Garrett, a name forever associated with the darkest Halloween nightmares. On that fateful Halloween morning in Amarillo, Texas, the convent of St. Francis became the scene of a horrifying crime. The victim was Sister Tadea Benz, a 76-year-old nun who dedicated her life to serving the community. Her fellow nuns made a gruesome discovery in her room on the 2nd floor of the convent. The autopsy report painted a chilling picture of the brutality she endured. Sister Benz had suffered contusions to the head, stab wounds to the chest, and excoriation and abrasive injuries to the front and back of her neck. The most chilling revelation was that she had been subjected to forcible rape. Yet, it was manual strangulation that ultimately claimed her life. The evidence leading to Johnny Frank Garrett was compelling, to say the least. His fingerprints were found on a knife discovered in Sister Benz's room, as well as on her headboard. Witnesses had seen Garrett fleeing the convent on that ill-fated morning. His culpability seemed undeniable. As the investigation continued, Garrett eventually confessed to the heinous crime. He chillingly described how he silenced Sister Benz and carried out the unspeakable acts. It was a confession that sent shockwaves through the community. Despite his age and the shocking nature of the crime, Garrett was sentenced to death. On February 11, 1992, he was executed, and his last words were a haunting reminder of the darkness that had consumed him, saying, "I'd like to thank my family for loving me and taking care of me, and the rest of the world can kiss my ass." However, the story did not end with his execution. Some individuals questioned the death penalty for someone so young and seemingly mentally troubled. There were claims that Garrett was brain damaged and quite mad. Dr. Dorothy Otno Lewis, a psychiatrist who studied Garrett, made a chilling revelation that he had been a victim of child abuse. A sworn statement from Garrett's cousin, meant for a clemency hearing, included allegations of shocking childhood abuse, stating that Grandma would dress Johnny up like a little girl, and then Grandpa would sexually abuse Johnny. These revelations cast a shadow of doubt over the case, leaving us with a chilling question. Was Johnny Frank Garrett a cold-blooded killer, or was he a product of a disturbing, abusive environment? The case of Johnny Frank Garrett remains a harrowing reminder that sometimes the line between good and evil, particularly on Halloween, can blur in the most nightmarish ways. Case 3. The murder of Martha Moxley. Our final chilling story takes us back to 1975 in the wealthy town of Greenwich, Connecticut. Martha Moxley, a 15-year-old girl, was discovered bludgeoned to death with a golf club on Halloween night. She had been last seen with her neighbor, Thomas Skokel, a nephew of Ethel Skokel Kennedy. The case went unsolved for 25 long years. Remarkably, it was not Thomas, but his younger brother, Michael, who was tried and convicted for Martha's murder in 2000. Michael served a decade in prison, but was granted a new trial due to inadequate legal representation. He was eventually released on bail in 2013, and after years of legal battles, his conviction was vacated and a new trial was ordered. Astonishingly, on the 45th anniversary of Martha's disappearance, the state announced that Michael would not be retried. In a bizarre twist, a best-selling true crime book about Martha Moxley's murder was penned by none other than Mark Fuhrman, the infamous cop whose involvement in the O.J. Simpson murder trial tainted his reputation. As Halloween approaches, remember that while we enjoy the thrill of costumes and scares, real-life horrors can be far more terrifying. These 3 disturbing cases remind us that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. Stay safe and never forget that the line between fiction and reality can sometimes blur, especially on Halloween night. Thanks for joining us for these spine-tingling stories, and be sure to subscribe for more intriguing content. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and stay tuned for more chilling tales.